Today we're adding some satin lining to some beanies. Cool. We have a couple of colors here, few. We're going to do a gray satin lining on this beanie, another gray satin lining on this beanie, a red satin lining on this one, and another red satin lining on this one. Lots of stripes today, so cool. Let's get started. Here are some of the tools that I'm using. Scissors, of course. I'm going to use a chalk marker. I'm going to use some clips here to hold my fabric in place. I'm going to use some straight pins here. Of course, I have my yarn colors as well as the bobbins. I've already cut out the fabric for the lining. So for each one, I'm going to start the sewing from this end and stop about here, and then from this end and stop about here. I'm leaving this hole in the middle so that I can stick my hand through and flip everything over for the seam that we use to close it all up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see here in just a moment. So the first thing that we're going to do on the beanie is mark 4 quadrants so that we can line up the satin lining. And I'm going to mark it on the inside of the beanie, on the wrong side, not on the right side. I'm using the tag that I have here as kind of a guide point for the 4 quadrants. So I'm going to go and put the clip here. I'm going to put one directly on the other side, and then folding it in half this way, I'm going to put another clip on the wrong side. The area where I'm clipping it is the area where we're going to sew the lining. So that's all on the wrong side. And the reason that I have it on this side first is because I want to make sure that the brim is up as high as I want it to be. And so when I flip it over to the wrong side, I'll know exactly how high up I need to sew the lining so that it gives me just enough leeway to have that fluffy lining under there but still be able to flip the brim. So this is where the lining is going to go. Now that I already have the 2 pieces of the lining cut, I have the right sides facing each other so that I can sew from end to here and this end to here. We're stopping in the middle because that hole in the middle is going to give us the space to, 1, put the garment onto the machine, to the arm of the sewing machine, and 2, so that we can flip it around. I'm just going to do this on a straight stitch. Grab my petal and do my straight stitch. Stop about right there. That's good enough. Because we're going to finish the seam once we finish the beanie. Just put my scraps right there. Now I'm going to do this other side. To about there. I just want to have enough space to stick it on the machine, put my arm in there, and not be oh so tight. We're going to now mark the quadrants for the satin just to give ourselves a guide. So I'm folding this one in half, I'm gonna take my chalk marker and just mark, this is on the wrong side. Just gonna do a chalk mark right there. I'm going to do, fold it in half on the other direction and do another chalk mark on that side. The side seams give me the other quadrant, so I don't have to worry about that. So now I'm lining up the wrong side of the beanie inside of the satin lining, so it's gonna touch the right side of the satin lining. So I'm gonna bring you a little bit closer so that you can see. So I have the wrong side of the beanie inside the satin lining, so it's touching the right side. I'm just gonna take my straight pins here to mark the areas as a guide for myself. I'm going to stick the pins up, meaning up towards the top of the beanie. Using these clips, it tells me exactly where to place the pins. So now I can take those off. Now I'm flipping this. So now that we have those pins in, I'm going to gather the openings here just so they're not just all over the place. I'm also going to stick a pin in here. I'm not going to sew this gathered like this. This is just so that I can have more control over this fabric and make sure that I stretch the beanie so that it spans the length of this satin fabric. And that's going to be done on a zigzag stitch to give us some flexibility in the beanie itself. And this is what it looks like. And the hole that we left is going to allow us to put the garment on the arm of the sewing machine. I've turned my machine to the zigzag stitch, and I'm taking everything and just placing it on the arm of the machine here. Sliding this satin and the beanie underneath so that we can get all the way down to the area that we want to sew on. So you have to be a bit careful and forceful at the same time. Slide it all the way down just to make sure we're in the right place. Making sure to stretch the beanie as we go along. Turning it as we go, stretching it as we go. So we did sew all the way around the beanie and the satin lining. Now we're going to flip it on the right side. We have the hole underneath, so you stick your hand in there and grab the pom-pom if you have a pom-pom, or just the top of the beanie itself. And if you look at it this way, this is the stitch for our zigzag stitch, and we can just flip this up to cover everything, and you have the satin lining inside. So now we just need to seam this opening closed so that our satin lining will be secure. Once the bottom is sewn, it looks like this, and then you can just tuck it into the beanie and you have your satin lining. So we can get started. We have the skirt added on the other beanie. We flipped it to the right side. Now flipping up the brim. The satin lining is inside. Now we just need to sew up the edge. Back to the straight stitch, we're going to fold up the edges as we sew the beanie closed. Just folding up the edges as we go. Clipping off the ends. Now we have that bottom edge sewn. Just gonna tuck it inside the beanie. And we are now satin lined. So cool. Next up are the red beanies. But first I'm going to sew both of the satin linings. Satin lining 1, satin lining 2. This is actually 2 pieces, right sides facing each other for both. I'm just gonna sew both of these first. We're gonna do the same thing. So from here to here and here to here, so that we leave the opening. I just dropped one. So that we leave the opening at the top to easily slide the beanie onto the machine, and so that we can also flip it to the right side once we're finished. Straight stitch first. One down, one to go. Other side down. Now we're folding both of them in half so that we can mark 4 quadrants. The 2 quadrants are already marked, the one where we've sewn. So we're just gonna fold this in half, take a chalk marker and mark this middle and this middle, and we'll do it with the other one. Fold it in half, mark this middle, fold it the other direction, and mark this middle. This just allows us to evenly distribute the tension on the beanie itself. I'm marking 4 quadrants on the beanie so that I know exactly how to stretch it and where to stretch it. So the pins, once again, are going to be on the wrong side, and I'll know exactly where to grab them and where to place the pins when I attach the satin. And these pins are just directly across from each other, marking the 4 quadrants on the beanie. I'm just going to do that with the other one as well, using the tag as my guide for a middle part. When I have the stripes, it helps me to place the markers kind of in the same place. Well, folding it helps me put them in the same place, but the stripes helps me put it in the same line. All right, so now that I have the pins in there, I'm going to turn it on the wrong side so I can now attach the satin lining, which it's going to nestle inside like this. So this pin is going to line up with this chalk marker. Same on the other side and same with the corners. And I'm just going to secure it with straight pins. With the straight pins, now I have both of the satin linings attached. Wrong side of the hat to right side of the satin lining. So now we're going to do a zigzag stitch going around each one. Time for the zigzag stitch. I've nestled the beanie and the satin lining onto the machine. Removing the straight pins as we go, and also stretching the beanie so that it spans the length of the satin lining. All done. Now to gingerly slide it off the machine. Here's the skirt added for the first one. We've added the skirt to both of them. Now we're going to flip them to the right side so that we can seam up the edge with a straight stitch. This, of course, is done with a zigzag stitch. So the hole is left so that we can stick our hand inside, grab the pom-pom. If you have a pom-pom on yours, I happen to have a pom-pom. If not, you're just grabbing the top. This is our zigzag stitch. This is our brim. Our lining is nestled inside. And so now we're just going to close this. And same thing with this one. Grabbing the top, pulling it through. Carefully unfolding everything. Well, this is our zigzag stitch. This is our brim. This one happens to have fun fur on it. The satin lining is inside. We have the opening that we now just need to do a straight stitch on. Okay. We have both of our beanies closed with the straight stitch at the bottom. So now we're just going to tuck the satin lining on the inside of the beanie all the way to the top. We have our brim. We have the satin inside. It's awesome. Let's do the same thing with this one. Just tuck the satin inside of the beanie all the way to the top. Plenty of satin in there. How cool is that? I think it's cool. Thanks for watching. Satin, 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 and satin.